Hello everyone and welcome to Macquarie University's Leaders and Achievers webinar. My name is Visnja.
And I'm Josh. First off, we just want to say thank you for joining us. We know that you're in holidays, but doing something like this is very beneficial for you and we really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're just going to run you through today. We're going to talk about ourselves a little bit. So we're going to introduce ourselves at the beginning, tell you about what we're studying, how we got into Macquarie, and then we're going to get stuck right into what you guys are here for today, the application process. We're going to take you through step by step. So what we do want to point out before we get started is that if you guys have any questions, hold on to them. We might answer them as we go through, but if there are any left at the end, we're going to go through after we finish and answer all of them for you. Cool. So as I mentioned, my name is Visnja. This is me chilling at our lake. I am currently in my second year of a Bachelor of Psychology Honours with a Bachelor of Commerce at Macquarie. And I actually got into this degree through the early entry program. And what I really love about studying this degree is the variety that it gives me and how dynamic it is and how I'm always learning about different things.
And I'm Josh. I'm in my fourth year now doing a Bachelor of Laws and a Bachelor of Arts Psychology. Just like Vish, I also came in through the early entry program, which was amazing, if I would say so myself. And what I love about studying this degree is that it was a really great way to combine the two things I found most interesting.
Cool. So essentially getting this offer for us took so much pressure off doing our HSC year. So when I was in the same position that you guys are right now, I put so much pressure on myself. I was really worried about not getting the ATAR and not getting into university. So for me to actually receive this offer, it allowed me to go into my exams stress-free almost. And it really helped me do so much better than I ever thought I could, because I knew that I had that offer waiting there for me and I could just focus on smashing my exams and doing the best that I can.
Yeah, and on top of that, it is a really great way to also create a nice segue between high school and university. So if you were to come in through this early entry scheme, you actually get to have your own kind of private mini orientation day with the other students who have also come in through the early entry scheme. And what that does, it allows you to sort of see the university, see the campus, meet some other people who are in the same position as you. And it also really helps you sort of dip your foot into the community that really is what university is.
Yeah, so it does take a lot of that pressure off. And for me, what really stood out to me about this program was that it recognized me as an individual rather than just as a student. So when I was in Year 12, I was really passionate about things like debating and getting involved in sports and other kinds of activities. And we know, obviously, once you guys get to Year 12, study becomes the first priority, and it's really hard to actually manage your time and continue to do the things that you love. So for me to actually be recognized for both my academic merit and the skills that I picked up doing those extracurricular activities, and to be recognized for also the effort and the time that I put into them was really amazing, and that's what I really appreciated about it.
All right, so now we'll get stuck into essentially what you're all here for, the Macquarie Leaders and Achievers Early Entry Scheme. So just to reiterate again, if you have any questions about what we're talking about throughout, we will be answering questions at a portion of the presentation at the end. So personally, and probably Vish as well, and most of you guys listening, one thing that was really playing on my mind a lot as I went into my final year of schooling was the ATAR. It's one of those things that kind of hangs over you like a dark cloud. So what I really enjoyed about this early entry scheme was that it was separate from my ATAR. It really recognized that I did well in my year 11 year, and I also did all these other extracurricular activities which showed leadership skills, developed personal qualities within myself as a person and as a student. And that's kind of what's the most important about this scheme, is that it's really looking at you beyond those numbers that you get at the end of a bunch of tests and really looks at you as a person.
Yeah, so what's awesome about it is definitely what Josh just said. But I mean, even the fact that you'll have an offer waiting for you before you sit your exams, that's a really awesome opportunity and something that we really recommend you guys grab with both hands. We do also want to point out that there are 15 scholarships to be given out. So if you guys apply, you'll automatically be considered for those. And those are $10,000 per year for, I think, 4 to 5 years, 5 years. And that does also take that kind of financial burden and stress of starting university. Cool. So if you guys are sitting at home wondering if you're actually eligible for this program, we're just going to quickly run through the eligibility criteria. So if you guys are completing your HSC, your senior secondary certificate, if you're in Canberra, or the IB in 2019, you're eligible to apply. So what we're essentially looking for is a student that's really well-rounded. So we need you guys to demonstrate that you are strong academically, but also that you have these leadership skills, community service, those kind of extracurricular things that you're involved in. We want to see that kind of variety, and we want to see that you can do both at the same time.
So there are some key dates to keep in mind moving forward with this application process. Obviously, the biggest one is that applications are already open. So whilst we're going through this, you can pop open another tab if you'd like, get that website up, and essentially follow along with us as we go through the process. Applications do stay open until the 26th of August, but we do stress that you try and get them in as early as possible. Because obviously, like with anything else, the earlier you get something done, the more likely it is to work out in your favor. So as you can see in the presentation now, there are 3 offer release dates. So essentially you could be given an offer either in August, September, or October, or potentially all 3.
Yeah. Cool. So what we're going to go through now is what you can actually apply to study for under this degree. So what we want to point out is that all of our courses are available to apply for, except for the actuarial studies and the accounting co-op programs and our Bachelor of Clinical Science. So I mean, there are only a few restrictions on what you can apply for. You guys can apply for anything that we offer. And that does include actuarial studies on its own. It includes our combined studies, which Josh is going to go through in a minute, and also our combined bachelor's and master's degrees. So lots of choice for you guys and potentially the opportunity to get 3 offers, which is really amazing.
So the Bachelor of Combined Studies, as you guys now know, both Vish and I do study double degrees, which honestly we will recommend until the end of time. But what's really great is that starting from essentially people finishing year 12 this year who will start university next year, you will be able to create your own double degree combination. And that's something that seems basically invaluable in of itself. So essentially the way it would work is that you would pick 2 different degrees that stand on their own, and you would select them because you would like to put them together as a double degree combination. And what's really great about that is that you really get to sort of tailor your university and your learning to what you want out of it.
Yeah, so we know that if you guys are studying what you're passionate about and what you're really interested in, you're probably going to do a lot better and you're going to be a lot happier at university as well. So we want to empower you to make those choices and I mean to tailor your own degree. So we do want to point out actually that you can only receive 1 offer for the Bachelor of Combined Studies through this program. So we do recommend you be a little bit careful when you're choosing.
So similar, but try and keep in mind that it is a bit different. We do also have combined bachelor and master's degrees that are available through the early entry scheme. Essentially what this is that you get your undergraduate degree and your postgraduate degree offer within that application. So what that means is that you have your degree that you start off with, and then a master's degree is essentially that further learning and upskilling that you would like to do to further what you've learned originally. And these degrees range anywhere from things within the security studies, things within science, and things within information technology.
Yeah, so what's cool about these is that they actually fast track your learning. So if you were to just do, for example, the Bachelor of Security Studies and then the Master of Counterterrorism later, it would take you a little bit longer. So you can finish both a bachelor and a master's in 4 years. Cool. Okay, so now that we've gone through what you guys can study and what options are available to you, we're going to get stuck right into the application process. So as Josh mentioned, you guys can actually open up another tab and follow along with us. We're going to take you through step by step just to make it as easy as possible for you guys and to take some of that stress off. We know it can be a little bit overwhelming applying for university so soon in your year 12 career. So we're going to get stuck into that now.
So the easiest way to find that web page, it's obviously a simple Google. Just type in MQ Leaders and Achievers, and it should come up as the first link. And you'll see a similar the web page, just like the one we have on the presentation. And the area you'd want to go to is how to apply. And you should be able to find this very easily because you'll see Vishnja's lovely face there. And within that, that's how you'll start the application process. And we'll go through that a little bit more with you now as well. So the way this page will be once you start to apply is that it'll essentially give you a little bit of a rundown of some of the things we've already said. So essentially what we're looking for when it comes to the skills and qualities that the student who is applying will possess and the eligibility criteria. The main thing to keep in mind is that half of this application is based around a supporting information form. And we will go through that form with you later on as well. But essentially, for the time being, keep in mind that that form makes up half the application and is where you put your examples of those activities and the ways that you have developed your skills.
Cool. So for you guys, the first step of the application process is really, really easy. We just need you guys to register an account with us. What we do really want to emphasize here is that you guys use a personal email address and not your school one. That's because as you go throughout the year, we're going to need to correspond with you. And I think once you graduate, your DET emails do get shut down. So we do need to have a way of contacting you. So make sure you do put in a personal email address and then just create a password and you've got an account with us.
So much like when you did your UAC account creation and all that kind of stuff, we do also need to get like the basic personal details to know what kind of student you are when you're coming in. So it would be things, as you can see on the screen, like your citizenship status, as well as whether you're completing your HSC or ACT Year 12 or IB in that this year.
So those are just those basic eligibility requirements that we mentioned before. Okay, so we need a few more personal details from you guys. So that's just filling in your name, what year you're finishing school, your country of birth, that kind of stuff. So just those personal details. Okay, so this is where we look at your, well, they're called qualifications. So it should be automatically filled in if you're doing the HSC. And that's just what school you're at and when you're finishing. We do want to point out, for those of you who are studying the IB, you need to make sure that you authorize UAC to release your results to us, because otherwise we can't access that academic part of your application.
Yeah. Also on this page, once you've made sure that your secondary studies are placed in there with your high school and what kind of studies you're completing, whether it's the HSC, IB, or SCC, this is also the place that you upload that supporting information form that we mentioned earlier. So now from here, we're going to go through that form step by step with you, give you a few of our own examples, and hopefully make this process as easy and stress-free as possible for you guys.
Cool. Okay, so guys, now we're on to the exciting part of the application. The supporting information form, as Josh mentioned earlier, is where you guys put in all of those activities and extracurricular things that you've participated in. And this is really your chance to stand out as an individual, show us what you're all about and what kind of qualities you've picked up from your participation in these things. If you go onto our website and you go onto the how to apply, as Josh mentioned before, you can download that information form and fill it out.
So there are a few parts to this form, but the majority of it is quite simple and straightforward. So part one is where you put in your applicant details. That's very similar to essentially what you did earlier to create the account. It's the whole name, date of birth, school, all that kind of stuff. The second part is putting in parent or guardian details. And this one is very specific based on your age. So if you are under 18 by the 24th of February of 2020, then you will need to have that filled out, because that is when semester will start for next year. And we do need to make sure that we know whether you are an adult or a minor. With part three, looking at the principal or nominee details, essentially that is someone from the school who can put their name down and essentially say that they believe you would be successful to study at this university. We'll go through that a little bit more in detail as we go through the form. And part four, where it says referee details for each activity, we will also go through that in a bit more detail to make sure that you guys really understand what it is we're looking for.
Okay, so once you guys download that information form and you go through all of those details, you'll get to the example activities. And as we mentioned before, this is where you have a chance to make yourself stand out and to show us what you're really about and what you want to do. So it contains 4 basic questions. So the first one is the name of your activity and your organization. So all we need you guys to do there is just to briefly describe what you've been involved in. Question 2 asks you to outline the task that you undertook. So this is where you really need to make it all about you. So say that you are part of a volunteering organization, or you volunteer for, I don't know, Cancer Council or something. So we know what Cancer Council do. That's what you'll put in for question 1. For question 2, we want to know what you guys actually did. So what was your role? So just make sure, say, like if you worked on a fundraising stall, or if you had a lead role in organizing something, that's what we want to know for question 2. Then question 3 is asking you to describe the outcome of your involvement for you as an individual, others, and the community. So this is where the chunk, the big part of your word count goes. And that's what we really want to see, the results and the outcomes of what you've done. So if you did participate in a fundraising stall, what skills did you gain from that? And what did the community gain from your involvement in that? Finally, how much time did you commit to the activity? So all we really want to know there is this is something that you've consistently been involved in. So what you really want to prioritize when you're choosing what activities to put down are the ones that you've done, say, every week for a couple of years, or every week for a year, or just something that you've consistently been doing and something that you can demonstrate that you've put a lot of time and effort into. So Josh, do you want to tell us about an activity that you've put down and just walk us through those questions?
Yeah, sure. So one of the activities I put down when I was filling my application out not too long ago, well, it is 4 years now, but I don't consider that too long ago. So one of the things I did in high school that I put down was the Duke of Edinburgh program. I know that still runs through a lot of different schools. So some of you listening may also be doing that currently. I thought myself that it was a really great example. It showed a lot of different qualities that I thought were right for this kind of application. So when putting down for question 1, I just said that it was the Duke of Edinburgh program and briefly described what that entailed. So essentially for me, I knew that it entailed a portion where it was hiking and learning orienteering and leadership through that. And then there was also a volunteering element, there was learning a new skill and all those kinds of things. You do really have to be careful when it comes to the word limits because you do want to make sure that you get your point across. But you also don't want it to not make sense because you're trying to cut it down to a very small amount of words. And as Vish said earlier, question 2 is where you specifically say the kinds of things that you did there. So one thing I would say is that when I did my skill learning, I picked something that I already enjoyed. So I picked reading, but I made it a bit more difficult for myself in the sense that I had to read a certain number of books within a certain amount of time, and all of those books had to be above 1,000 pages. So I really kind of tested that love for reading a bit much. But then there I also outlined the other tasks that came along with the program for me personally. And then in question 3, that's really where you kind of, for lack of better words, sell yourself within that activity that you did. So it's the outcome of your involvement as an individual and for those around you. So when it came to that program as an individual, there were outcomes in personal development when it came to hiking. Because although I went to a sports high school, do not trust me near any kind of sport or bat or ball or anything like that. Trust me, I won't do well. And then when it came to things about the involvement in the community and those kinds of outcomes, it really was that kind of volunteering aspect where I did have to engage in the community. And, you know, sometimes it was a bit hard. I felt kind of young and out of place and things like that. But it really was a great way to kind of branch out with that experience. But Vish, what kind of stuff did you put in?
Okay, so one of my main ones was that I was the vice captain of my high school. So before I actually start describing what I've done, I want to point out that just because it's called Leaders and Achievers does not mean that you have to have a formal leadership role within your school or within some other kind of organization. So we just want to make it really clear to you guys that leadership skills are built through so many different things. So don't feel that you need to be a captain or you need to have some kind of formal title attached to what you do. But for me, the vice captain was something that was important for me. And for me, I really wanted to use that platform to make a change within my school community. So for question 1, I talked about the aims of my prefect organization. So my prefect body, really, we wanted to make a more cohesive school, be more supportive for younger students. And also we wanted to increase our engagement with other high schools and other leadership teams. So that was kind of the summary of my prefect body and what we aimed to do over the 2 years that I was in that role. So for question 2, in terms of the tasks that I undertook, so I had a leading role in organising a leadership conference that was inter-school. And I also organised something called Step Up to Senior School, which aimed at really developing the confidence of students in years 7 to 9. And we really wanted them to pick up some of those leadership skills to better prepare them for entering years 10, 11 and 12. As you can see, something very, very succinct, but it's also very clear that I had a leading role in organising these things and they were my idea as well. So for question 3, in terms of the outcome of my involvement, so what was really important for me as an individual was all of those skills that I picked up. So things like communication, things like teamwork, because I mean, I had a prefect body of 20 and I had to kind of organise them as well as the other schools that we were dealing with. And also things like adaptability and flexibility. So when you're organising big events or when you're organising anything in general, things tend to go wrong. Nothing goes smoothly. So what it really taught me was to think on my feet, to use the resources that I had as efficiently as I could, and to have a successful outcome at the end, no matter what goes wrong. So for me, that really helped me become more resilient. It helps me become more confident. So those are things that I put down there. In terms of the outcome for others and community, I would say that for the younger students, we help them develop their confidence. We help them overcome their fears about progressing through the higher stages of high school. And we really helped kind of solidify the bond between younger students and older students within the high school. And that was something that was really important to me, because I know when I was in year 7, I was really scared of anyone older than me and I didn't want to talk to them. And we really wanted to kind of combat that and make a stronger school community. So those are the kind of things that I put down. So make sure it's really clear how you grew from what you were involved in, and also how others benefited from that as well. In terms of questions 4 and 5, so question 4, pretty simple. How much time did you commit to the activity? So for me, I was a prefect for 2 years, so I put maybe a couple of hours every week for 2 years. Josh?
Yeah, the Duke of Edinburgh program, obviously it stems for as long as you wish to do it, but it does go across 3 stages. So each of them normally, like at least with the way I did it, they took about a year each. So I kind of averaged out the hours that it was for the skill learning and the volunteering and the hikes all together across the 3 years that I did it.
Yeah, and so as you guys can see, we picked things that we did for a couple of years. We're sure you guys are involved in lots of things, because I mean, you've joined us today, so you're really keen about this program. So just make sure to pick the ones that show the most variety, the ones that you've gained the most skills from, and the ones that you've contributed the most to, as well as the ones that you've done for quite a while, just to consistently demonstrate that involvement. So finally, for question 5, we just need a referee from you guys. So someone that can vouch for you, someone that can say, yes, you've done the things that you say you have. So all we need there is a name, a position, a phone number, and an email. So what we do want to stress with this, guys, is before you submit your applications, make sure your referees are aware that they're referees and that they've agreed to be a reference for you. So all you need to do, quick call or a quick chat, just ask them, is it okay if you were my reference for this program?
Yeah, because we really don't want to, if we do have to contact them and them being unaware, it's a little bit awkward. So it is very simple to just make sure that everyone is aware that you are putting their name down as someone who may be contacted for this.
Yeah. Okay, so once you guys have filled that out, there's just one final part to that application, and that's called the reflection. So the reflection's broken down into 2 questions. We're going to take you through those today. We're also going to give you some tips and hints and just tell you guys about what we put. So with the reflection, what you really want to think about is how have you developed. A good way to think about it is think about the person that you were before you started doing these things. So I know for me, before I became a vice captain or before I really started getting involved in school, I was really shy and I was really timid. And I was really kind of intimidated by anyone who was new to me. And once I actually started doing these things and getting involved, I found that my confidence grew, my communication skills grew, I was better able to work in teams. Those kinds of things are what you want to think about.
Yeah, and when it comes to that kind of stuff, like you do get a bit more words for it, so you are able to kind of flesh out a bit more how those, how those activities really did develop those skills and qualities within you. So Vish, what kind of example do you use when coming to question 1?
Yeah, so I'm just going to continue on with the example that I gave you guys before. So as a vice captain, the skills and qualities that I developed as a result of organizing these inter-school events and also organizing school-wide events, I would say I developed leadership skills, I developed communication skills, because something that I learned that was really important was that you have to adjust your communication style based on who you're talking to. So with the younger students, you have to be a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more open with them. And I also developed, as I mentioned before, those flexibility skills. So thinking on your feet, improvising, making sure that you still have a successful outcome no matter what obstacles you have to overcome. So those are things that were really important to me. And those are the things that I felt really shaped me into the person that I am today. And what's really important about this program is that it recognizes you for those skills, because we know that those skills are really going to be helpful for you once you get to university, because they're pretty much applicable to any facet, anything that you do.
Yeah, and so with question 2, it says, select one of the examples listed above that you believe reflects your greatest achievement and to explain why you've made that choice. One thing we want to preface about this question is that try and pick the one that, as we said earlier, like you feel has shaped you the most or has had the greatest impact on you, or through that you have had the greatest impact on someone else or on the wider community. We want you to recognize that like it's called Leaders and Achievers, but it's very much so how you have become a leader and achiever, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at you as a person, as an individual. So whilst you may have been like a school captain, and maybe did volunteering at, let's say, PCYC on the weekends. You might think, oh, the one that sounds more impressive when like being a high school student would be being a captain. But if you feel that volunteering at a youth community center is what shaped you the most and what you got the most from, then that is the kind of thing where you would actually be able to write more about, and you'd be able to really express who you are as a person, who you are as a candidate for this program as a whole. So when I came to this question, I'll continue on from the example I used with the Duke of Edinburgh program. I actually picked the Duke of Edinburgh program for this one, I'm pretty sure, when it was a similar question, was because there were so many facets to it that I thought it really did challenge me as a person, and getting through it was like quite an achievement that I was proud of. The main reason I made that choice was because the main thing it taught me was resilience. So it wasn't just resilience in terms of the hikes, because whilst they did require lots of resilience and pushing through, especially when my bag broke on like a 5-day long hike, that was not fun. It's one of those things where I really had to, be able to push through those points where I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. Like when it came to the volunteering, I was like, I'm in year 12, I have so many other things to think about. Like, this is an extra thing. Why should I keep doing it? And I really pushed myself through it. The same with the skill and everything else. So when you're writing about this example, it's very much so how you believe it reflects how you've grown. And so you really want to grab those qualities out, grab those skills and how it developed you as a leader, because essentially that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that student who has developed these prime candidate qualities that show that you really are like more than just a bunch of numbers at the end of your schooling.
Okay, yeah, so we did just go through this in quite a lot of detail, but if you guys are stuck and you're not sure what to write about in your reflection, what's on your screen right now are some good questions you might want to think about. So if you've learned anything new about yourself from your participation in these activities, think about what that was and how you can use that in the future. Think about the challenges that you overcame, so things like Josh, what Josh just told us, so how he found it really difficult to push through because year 12 was a priority and he found it really hard to manage everything. That's a really good thing to put down. And also, as we mentioned before, how's your participation positively affected individuals in your community? So you guys know why you do the things that you do. Like at the core of it, you guys know why you're involved in these things and what you're passionate about. So we really just need that to shine through. And that'll show us who you are and what you're all about and why you want to apply for this program.
Cool. So once you've got that all done, make sure it's fully completed, every aspect. That's when you upload it back into that qualifications page that we were at earlier. So essentially it's much like uploading any other document that you would click on the link where it says upload your form, and then you would then choose the file and upload it. And once it's uploaded, it would let you know, and then you would close that. And then from there, you move on to course preferences.
Amazing. So now we've gone through basically half of your application. So now we're on to the exciting part, which is choosing what courses you want to apply for. So when you guys submit your supporting information form and all of your qualifications, it'll take you to a screen that looks like this. So what you can actually do to start selecting your courses is you just go on the search button and type in what you want to study.
And what's really great about this program is that you can select up to 5 courses for the offer round.
Yeah, so that essentially looks like this. What we do want to point out, so you guys might be able to see on your screen there, it says, please ensure one of your preferences is a Group U course. So we just want to clarify in case you guys aren't sure what this is. Once you go into our Leaders and Achievers website and you open up the courses, you'll see that they're grouped into 3 categories, which are M, Q, and U. So these categories are essentially ranked on competitiveness. So the M category courses are the ones that are most competitive and the ones that are most difficult to get into. Then you've got Q and U that progressively get less competitive. So what we really want to emphasize here, you guys have 5 preferences. It's not a good idea to put all M courses in your 5 preferences. You want to have a variety of M, Q, and U, because really you want to maximize your chances of getting an offer or potentially getting 3 offers. So just make sure that you guys have that variety in there.
So once you've picked those, essentially it will come to this screen where it will have the UAC code and the courses that you've chosen. So as you can see at the top there, one of the example courses that we have picked is what we mentioned earlier, the Bachelor of Combined Studies, which is new. And from there, you actually get to choose which courses you want to combine together. So that'll come up with a little tab thing, window, that's what we're looking for, that essentially lists all the courses that you're able to combine together. And essentially it's very simple. You tick the 2 boxes, and if at any point it doesn't work for you, essentially all that means is that it either already exists as a double degree with a UAC code. So what that means is that you'd have to go and find it and actually pick it that way, or the 2 that you have decided to put together are too similar. So obviously if you decide that you want to do a Bachelor of Engineering Electronic with a Bachelor of Engineering Mechatronic, probably a bit too similar, probably won't let you do it.
Yeah.
And then once you've selected it, if that still comes up on the side where it says, please select course for double degree, just know that you have selected it and that those preferences are in there for you.
So what we just want to point out about the Bachelor of Combined Studies, we have gotten some confusion over this. So when you actually apply for that, say you want to double, I don't know, economics and planning, you would not be studying the Bachelor of Combined Studies. That's not what's going to go onto your transcript when you finish university. It's going to be the 2 degrees that you pick. So we've just called it the Bachelor of Combined Studies because you guys have the choice to choose basically any 2 degrees that you want to double. So just for you guys to be clear, that's not what you're studying the 2 that you pick.
Yep, so once you have essentially put in your preferences with your application, it'll take you down to another page where you're going to review your application. One thing we really want to stress is definitely read everything. This isn't one of those moments where you can, when you're signing up for Facebook and it says terms and conditions and you just scroll and click. We really do need to make sure that all the information we have here is correct, especially when it comes to that personal email. Because if we don't have that email written in correctly, if we have an offer for you, we won't be able to send it to you. So we really need to make sure that everything about you in there is 100% correct and what we need to know about you to make sure that we can make that offer for you.
Cool. Okay, so as Josh mentioned, what we really want to emphasize to you guys is double check everything. So when this window comes up, you can see that you can actually tick that you've finished everything, but there is an option for you guys to press, I need to double check my application. So this is actually really important because you can only submit once. So if something is wrong in there, you actually cannot go back and change that. So obviously you guys don't want to cut yourselves out of an offer. So you really do need to be careful. I like to check everything like 5 times. Maybe that's a little excessive, but just make sure that everything is where it needs to be and all of your details are correct before you hit submit my application.
And once you've hit submit, essentially you'll get taken to this page. You'll have a lovely green bar loading to make sure that you know that it's actually being submitted. And it'll also show you 2 other things on there. Essentially, one is managing your application, and we'll go through what that means after this. And then also things to do. And essentially that's you being able to download your certificate of completing the application, which looks like this.
Yeah. So this will actually get emailed to you guys just for your own peace of mind. All of your details will be on there, things that you've applied for. So just so you guys know that we've received your application and it's being processed.
And so this is what managing the application looks like. So once it's all done and you want to manage your application, you log in and all that kind of stuff, you can do a bunch of things on there. One of the really great things I think on there is good is being able to track your application. So you can kind of see where it's standing and all that kind of stuff. And also when it comes to your preferences, which we just went through earlier, you actually get to change those if you wish to before each offer round if you weren't successful in maybe what you wanted, or you just want to see what other offers you can get. And that's where you would come in here as well, and you would update your course preferences where it says update course preferences.
Okay, so after you guys have applied, as we just mentioned, you will receive a confirmation email to that email address that you've put down for us. What we really want to emphasize is that you check that email regularly. So once you've submitted, if there's something missing or we need you guys to clarify something, we will get in touch with you via that email address. So you guys do need to be checking that. And we also want to tell you that it might take up to 6 weeks for your application to be assessed. So just keep that in mind. And as we mentioned before, apply as early as possible because it does make it a lot easier for you.
So when it comes to the outcome of your application, you will also get notified by that email address that you've nominated at the end of each, at each offer round. So if you're successful, obviously you follow the steps in the email to accept your offer, super exciting, yes. Get excited. And we do recommend that you complete that acceptance within 2 weeks because as you're probably sick of hearing from us say by now, the earlier, the better. Then from there, obviously, you still complete your Year 12 examinations because you still want to do your best. We are giving you this early offer that is separate from your ATAR, But, you know, getting a great ATAR is still really something to strive for. It's something that we both still strive for after our early offer, because there are so many other areas of life where that ATAR matters. It's scholarships that come from academic achievement. There might even be job applications that look at it. And even beyond that, you might just want to keep your options open, because you might have put down certain preferences with your application, gotten an offer there, and then you might really surprise yourself with your ATAR and be able to do something that you might not have put in on your preferences because you might have been a bit hesitant by that big number, or just a number that maybe had you nervous.
Yeah. So what we also do need to address is, if you aren't successful, there are some steps that you can take. So say you're not successful in that first round, what you might actually get is an email inviting you to apply for a different course that you are eligible for. So say you applied for the Bachelor of Laws in your first round and you aren't successful for that, you may be eligible for the Bachelor of Arts or something like that. So do consider that as well, because obviously we do want to increase your chances of getting an offer, and we do want to get you guys to explore every possible avenue. So finally, if you aren't successful through this scheme at all, don't stress. There are always ways into university, and there are other entry options available at Macquarie. So one thing that you guys might have heard about from your careers advisors or at school in general is something called the school's recommendation scheme. So this is also an early entry program. And what it does is, essentially, when you're applying through UAC, you just need to put down that you want to be considered for the SRS. And then your teachers will make an assessment of your aptitude for learning, and UAC will access your Year 11 results. And then you can actually get an offer based on that as well.
We also have other ways to get in as well. We have our, our academic entry program, which essentially looks at your HSC results and how you did within specific subjects. Those are category A subjects, and they look at that, and based on those results as well, they may be able to offer you entry into a course that relates to those subjects. Beyond that, we also do have multiple adjustment factors that come into play when boosting your ATAR mark. Essentially, you guys might know adjustment factors as bonus points. And for most degrees, you can receive up to 10. And then with things like law and psychology, you can receive up to 6. So with things like that, some of them are really simple and automatic, and you don't even have to think about. There are certain ones that have to do with where you live, and based on that, you might get 5 extra points. So really if you aren't successful through this scheme, don't freak out too much. There are, as we said, always ways to get in. There are always options, no matter what.
Cool. Okay, so we did mention these a little bit earlier. So these are the key dates that relate to the Leaders and Achievers applications. So as you can see in that right column, there are 3 offer rounds. First one on the 15th of August, second one on the 12th of September, and the final one on the 3rd of October. What I would like to draw your attention to is that left-hand column. So it says apply by preference closing date, which may be confusing for some of you guys, but essentially those dates and times are the last time that you can change your preferences for that coming offer round. So say you want to get an offer on the 15th of August, you want to finalize your preferences by 11:59 p.m. on the 11th of August. So just a couple of days before each offer round, make sure your course preferences are in the right place, that you're happy with them, and that's what you want to submit for that round.
So coming up, if you do want to, get a feel for the campus or get more information or just get a bit more involved, we do hold campus tours every 1 to 2 weeks. You can check those dates online, and then you can also book campus tours as well. So if you want that, that more personal experience, 1-to-1 or 3-to-1, that kind of stuff, you can also book those, and they can take you around, see things that you specifically might want to see as well. Another one we have coming up is our open day. That's on August 17th, and we do understand that is during trials, but if you get your application in early enough, you might already have an offer 2 days before the open day. And so that would be a really great way to come in, see the campus, meet some people, see the academics, sit in on a few lectures. And it really is a day that Vish and I can't recommend enough. It's kind of the day that sold this place on us, really. Yeah,
so when I actually got my early entry offer, I still wasn't sure that I wanted to go to Macquarie or that I wanted to study what I am studying right now. So I attended the open day, and it was a really amazing experience for me to get a vibe, get the vibe of the campus, kind of look around. I got to talk to the commerce and the psychology lecturers and the academics. I got to see all of the fun events and societies that happen on campus. And I really felt that I belonged here and that I wanted to join this community right after that open day. I mean, I've been here since then, and I do not regret my choice at all. I'm having an amazing time. So we do really recommend for you guys to go and check that out, scope out your options, see how you feel on campus. Thank you for joining us for the webinar. If you have any questions, please get in touch with us through phone, email or live chat, and come and have a chat with us at Open Day on Saturday the 17th of August.